impression. It's a sort of a deep chuffing sound. That was a very, very poor one. Perhaps we need to employ Brian to be our professional animal noise imitators. But they do call. And Ashley in Missouri was wondering how far a female leopard could hear her cub, or how far a leopard cub could hear mom. And if I have to guess, I don't know exactly, and I don't think anybody knows exactly how far that sound travels for, or at least how far that leopard cub can pick up on that sound. Just want to see what's over there. We've got something. Oh, cool! So actually, if I had to guess, I'd say probably just under a mile or so. Maybe a little bit further on a cold day. We're being watched, guys. We've been spotted. We've been spotted by something stripy. A whole herd of zebra. Now obviously, usually our approach with animals on bushwalk is to try and not be seen, but I've been prattling away on my approach out here, so they knew I was there, and they knew we were there from a long way back. So now what they're doing is they're quite comfortable with our distance, because we're actually quite far away from them. We're probably about 200 or so yards, less than 150 or so yards from our zebra herd. The one that's uncomfortable, there's a little foal that is off to the left and away from the rest of the herd. That little chap is a bit more uncomfortable. He's probably going to go following behind. But other than that, they have relaxed completely. And we're constantly reading animals' body language and body behavior. It's a very, very important aspect of what we do. And a big giveaway when something is actually relaxed is if it bends down and starts feeding, chances are it's not terrified of you. That being said, you've got to watch out for elephants, because sometimes they actually pretend to feed, to trick you into thinking they're relaxed. But these guys are perfectly happy. They're alert, they're aware of us, they're watching us with ears forward, but at the moment we're not displaying any kind of predatory behavior. Now, if I were to creep around the edges really softly and try and hide in the bushes and sneak up closer, or if I were to walk in a straight line towards them, then immediately that changes the way that I'm behaving and I become something scary. Now, if we wanted to get a little bit closer to them, we maybe could, but what we need to do is change our outline. So this upright stance, this two-legged upright stance that animals have over thousands of years of evolution learned to fear, can actually be broken. And I've done this before with an elephant, and I would hesitate to do it again. It was a very unique situation, but I've done it with an elephant before, where dropping down onto your haunches and making yourself less threatening often is a way of encouraging animals to be more relaxed around you. So if they wanted to come here, if we dropped down onto our haunches, maybe just sat and let them approach, it might be a very different story to trying to creep up closer. Hello, zebbies. Keeping a close eye on their surroundings. They now are not even looking back at us. Looking off into the distance. Oh, somebody's going to get a kick. They might not be troubled by us, but sometimes they do get into each other's space and they become distinctly disgruntled. Right, we're going to leave our zebra and start heading towards home, since we've managed to get as far away as we can possibly get, and it is eventually going to get dark. So it's time for us to change our direction. While we do that, let's go across to James, who after his marvellous cub excitement has gone across to Buffelshoek Dam to regain his composure.
Now we're just trying to ease down here because we'll get a really nice view if we can get to sort of eye level, because this section here of Buffelshoek Dam, which will shortly be inundated when the deluge begins, oh, horrible noise. The section of the dam is at eye level with that hippo and with those buffalo. And this is going to be a lovely shot. How's that, Davey? Is that alright? You notice how I turned you towards the hippo? Yeah, so that if it takes displeasure at us. There are waterbuck here, there are buffalo at eye level. It's a wonderful sighting. I've got 74 radios, all of them tangled with each other. There we go, I've sorted that problem out. You'll be all pleased to know, because I know you're all worried about that. And we now have how many buffalo have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 beefies. Bob, the Bachelor of Buffelshoek. He's here. Gracie, I hope you're watching. If you are watching, Bob sends his very best to you. He hopes you're feeling well and that you enjoyed seeing those little cubbies. There he is. This is wonderful. Isn't that great? Eye level with the hippopotamus.
Oh no! It seems as though we have lost James. Brent is back at DRC, and thus you find yourself on a bushwalk that is limited by the amount of light that we have. Oh well, we'll have to deal with it, and we'll have to just carry on and see what we can see. Let me try and find you something out of the blue. Wait, I know what we can show you. I saw them on the road. We'll do a track for you. Let me see if I can't figure out exactly where they may be. Somewhere here there is a set of very interesting tracks. Where did they go? Now we have made our way back onto the road just because it is a bit faster for us to move in this way back to where we need to be, back towards quarantine, so that we can finish off our sunset walk, which is apparently what this is turning into. Finish off our sunset walk somewhere close to quarantine. Aha! I've got a track for you. You got wild dogs? Oh wow! That's incredible! Let's go see the wild dog tracks. Ah! Very, very cool. Now, Herbert has circled and provided us with direction as well. These are old wild dog tracks. These are, I think, when did James have the wild dogs? They must have cut through here a couple of days ago. But this is the wild dog track that Herbert has been pointing out to us. It's going to be tricky. Can you see it in this light, Chandra? This is the back foot of the dog. Now, compared to hyenas, they also have two lobes at the back, like a hyena track. But the tracks are much straighter, much less angular, and there's a slight gap between the toes and the back pad. Our dog, oopsie, that dog's got 5 feet. Dogs only have 4 feet, 4 toes. That's the back foot, and the front foot is here. There we go. Wild dog tracks racing across the road. And then the other thing that I was going to show you was a little bit further ahead. It's a very mean track quiz. That will do it for you. Those of you, I think I've done this track quiz before. I don't want to make life too easy for you, but just have a look here. Can we see this track here, Gendre? This sweeping track that's been made along the road. I have asked this track quiz before, so perhaps it might just be easier for me to show you, because otherwise I think the people that have seen it will know almost straight away. This track made by grass blowing in the wind and actually creating a sweeping track that most people think was made by elephants or something similar. Wonderful news. It seems as though James is back up and running. Let's go across to him, find out what he's found.
Right, here we are. Sorry, we don't know what happened there. We've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. Anyway, here we are. And we're back sitting with our beefies, with Bob, who has decided to get onto his knees. He's eyeing us. And I think you might find that lioness comes down to have a drink later on towards the end. Oh, maybe it will do that for you. You see that, dude? That's called the Flehmen Grimace. Was that the one, Gracie? If it wasn't, another one. Let's go back to the animals, David. There's also a grey heron sitting on the left-hand side of this little water hole. And all is marvellously peaceful here. There he is, just surveying the place to see if there might be a fish or two to eat. And every day this water gets slightly less. And Bob, the bachelor of Biffle's Hook, has slightly less water covering his body. Which at this time of the year is not a train smash, but as it begins to get really dry during the September months, oof. Wendy, you want to know how quickly that hippopotamus can get out of the water if he was to take displeasure to us? Very fast, Wendy. He would be between there and here. We're probably, what, about 20 meters away, Dave? Yep. 20 meters? 20 meters, so that's about 70 feet. He would be here within 3 seconds, 4 seconds if he wanted to. There's quite a lot of mud, call it 5 seconds. They're very fast. 22 meters. The reason I'm not particularly worried about we are in a vehicle and he's not big enough to turn the vehicle over. He seems to be kind of rising to the challenge there, Dave, don't you think? Yeah. That's also why, of course, I've faced David towards the hippopotamus.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, I do what I can for you, Davey. He's watching us, but he's not, the last time we came down here, he got out of the water a little bit. And that's not very nice to him. At the moment, I don't think he's particularly worried. He's just eyeing us out a bit. So I don't feel we're being completely insensitive to him. And he is kind of nodding off there. He's kind of going to sleep. But just watch how long... we often asked how long a hippo can stay under the water. Now, although he's not under the water, you can see that his nose has been under the water now for at least a minute. So he has not breathed air for at least a minute, which I think is quite impressive. And we're told that they're able to do it for 8 minutes. I've never seen that before. Never seen. I know he's doing a job there. He'll have a breath now. I'm not very comfortable with you. I don't think it's a prelude to any kind of attack, but he is just giving us a little bit of a statement. And so I think we've had a really nice view here. And I don't want to be nasty to him, Dave. I'm just going to ask you to quickly look at that buffalo that's standing broadside to us. There are 3 little oxpeckers perfectly perched on his... 3 little red-billed oxpeckers. Alright, apparently our signal is also not good down here. So we're going to reposition. We're going to reverse back up this fairly substantial slope. Hold on, David. Don't topple out of the car. Could be a nasty, nasty experience. Not so much the toppling, but the result thereof. There we are. That's quite a slope, that. We won't be able to do that for long, of course, because when the deluge does come, that will be inundated and there'll be water everywhere. Rusty did very well to maintain signal there. We're quite a long way from the tower. Hello Eileen, you're in London and you say, what's the reason that a hippo has got such a blubberous physique? Why such a fatty? Largely the same reason a whale is fatty, because they get cold in the water. You know that no matter how sort of aquatic a human being gets, if they're in the water for a substantial length of time, they're going to get cold. And it's very much the same with any other mammal, except those that are very specially adapted to being in water. And obviously a hippopotamus is very specially adapted to being in water. and but it needs to have that covering of fat, otherwise they do get cold. Remember that in order for a mammal's body to function at optimal sort of temperatures, it's got to be let me go to, I'm going to start that again, David. I'm starting to lose my mind. For a mammal to operate at optimal metabolic function, it needs to be at around 36 degrees Celsius, give or take a degree or two, or three in some cases. Now the water here, no matter how hot it gets, you'll find that the water here will very seldom be anything less, especially in winter, it will seldom be anything more than 27, maybe 28 degrees Celsius. So, I'm not going to convert all of that into Fahrenheit, I'm just going to do it in Celsius for now. Which means that no matter how warm that water feels, it's always colder than the hippo is, which means it's inevitably eventually going to cool the hippo down. And I'm not sure why it is, I suppose, that an outside air temperature doesn't cool you down in the same way that water does. But even the warmest water will cool you down to that temperature, and why they insulate themselves. Lovely here. Hello, Honey Bear in Connecticut. You are wondering about the hippo's skin and whether the sun has an effect on it because it can't submerge itself completely. To a certain extent, yes, Honey Bear. It hasn't been very hot. That does make a difference. The angle of the sun will make a difference. But you can see, if you look at the close-up of Bob's skin there, it's not too cracked, and it doesn't look like it's exuding that pink stuff that helps them to cope with the sun. In the summertime, that would not be the case. In the summertime, it will be a lot hotter. You'll find that skin much more cracked on the top there. You see where it's a little bit cracked there? It'll be much more cracked. There'll probably be a fairly evil-smelling pink substance coming out of those cracks, trying to protect the hippo skin from the sun. So not too much of a train smash at this time of the year. Hello, Cassandra. You're wondering whether when a hippo is stressed, its skin turns red. No, Cassandra, that's not the case. Just hang on a second. Oh, its sweat turns red. No, that's not stress, it's heat. And it's not the sweat, it's that... what do we call it? That substance that they exude to protect their skin from the sun. I suppose it could be considered kind of sweat, but no, it's not because they are stressed that they produce that. They produce it when they're heat stressed, but not necessarily emotionally stressed. Right, everyone, I think we should move on from Beetle's Hook Dam and see what else we can find along the way. A very good call to come to the dam here, David. I think, yes, very nice. So we'll go and see what we can find. Brent Leo Smith is driving around trying to fix Wendy. Well, that's what I'm told. I think he's driving around, and I think Peter Braat, who is on site, he's one of the directors, the technical director. I think he's trying to fix Wendy, and Brent is nobly driving about the place, seeing if he can get signal. Hopefully by the end of the drive, we'll have some signal with him. Righty, on we go, David. Marvellous sighting at Beetle's Hook Dam. Unfortunately, Beetle's Hook Dam not to have water in it for too much longer, alas and alack. I think it's going to last another... Dave, how long do you think?
10 days.
Dave reckons 10 days, everybody. I'm going to give it 3 weeks before we get the last little bit of water. Good. Thank you, Gracie. You say that was the lion face you were looking for. And you say you're also very happy to have seen Bob. You say that sometimes he's on a timeout because he hasn't been very nice to the others. Yes, I'm not sure it's so much that, Gracie. You know, when men get old, when they get, or not old, when they get younger than me, when they turn about 18 or 19, Well, they need to go and find themselves, and that's what Bob's doing. He's just gone off, he's left his family. He will one day hopefully have his own family, but in between that time, well, he's just got to find himself, he's got to make his way in the world. And that's what we men have to do. And likewise, the hippopotamus bulls as well. Ah, very good news, everyone. Brent Leo Smith, with his very fine kit of screwdrivers and excellent application for technical work, has managed to fix Wendy. Let's go and find out how he managed it.
Of course, that is an absolute lie. The man with the screwdrivers and technical ability is Mr. Peter Bright, who's managed to fix whatever was wrong. And this is the exact spot we were driving. We went black screen earlier, but now here we are. So, as I was, that sighting is now closed. We've zoned it completely, as Mom's not there and the sun is starting to sink a bit low in the sky. And I think I am going to go look for some elephants now. We did see a single elephant bull when we were having some tech difficulties fixed, so I'm going to go see if we can catch up with that Ellie. He was at the Djuma dam cam, so maybe he's maneuvered through. Also, I think Brian and I are going to go do a quick scan of some of the hyena dens, see if there's any activity there. But it is a glorious winter's evening. To quite lovely reds and oranges at this time of the year. And of course we'll be on the lookout for any other creatures that might be out and about. You know, Karulas are knocking about somewhere. I think Tingana might be as well. So I think I'm going to slowly move towards the western areas and then come down south slowly. Oh, hello. Got a large bottom appearing out of the bush. Hello, mister. Oh. Now, I wonder if this is one of the buffalo bulls that the Nkuhumas were hunting with Jamie a few drives ago. Not right sort of area. You got some nice big congregations of these buffalo bulls on Djuma. Now, these guys aren't showing too much sign of the drought yet, but as we head deeper into the drought, we're going to start seeing their hip bones showing a little bit more, and maybe some ribs. Now, the drought is a difficult time for the herbivores, but it's a great time to be a carnivore. And it's a great time to have baby carnivores, and I think we have an incredible amount of baby carnivores knocking about at the moment. And if we try to work it out, 6, 16, at least 22 cubs around at the moment, and maybe 1 or 2 more once we find the Nkuhumas, the third lioness who's got cubs. Now, we've been looking at another buffalo bull for the last 2 days, but he is no longer breathing and was caught by the Nkuhuma pride. And Don is wondering if those little Nkuhuma cubs would have fed on the carcass, or they're still too young. Donna, they would have fed, but not very much. They're still mostly reliant on milk, but they are able to digest meat already, so I'm pretty sure they would have snacked on some of that meat before they left. Now, I think the Nkuhumas have left that carcass, abandoned that carcass, because of the high number of hyenas in that area and those young cubs being there. They might go back, you never know. And but I think another reason I want to check the south and west is because you never know, those Nkuhumas might be on their way back from Sibambili. That's where they went to this morning, and so hopefully they'll be back on Djuma in 2 ticks. You can see we're going right into the sun at the moment, very bright. Brian is looking through his sunglasses. Oh, hello. And the great survivor out here, and the great generalist is probably the best description, as they are able to eat both grass and leaves, and that enables them to be in quite a few different habitats, and far more widespread and far less cornered into a certain habitat, the impala. But they're about to pop behind the termite mound. Oh, there's an Inyala bull at the back there as well, and there's some male impala. Now we're going to leave these incredibly graceful animals and go across to another graceful animal who's on foot.
To draw in, the shadows are getting long, and that means it's time for us to start heading back towards the safety of quarantine. But before we do, I said the shadows are getting long. Jandre has come up with a brilliant idea. Jandre is going to join me in the best shadow dancing segment you've ever seen, just because we're having an absolute ball. I've been trying to make myself into the giraffe silhouette, like the one that we saw the other day, where there's an ossicone. Sort of looks like a giraffe. It doesn't look like a giraffe at all, does it? Maybe a brachiosaurus or something. Or a diplodocus. There we go. Oh no, my hair ruined it. Hold on. No, now my hair's ruined it completely. Stay there. Here we go. Going to be a giraffe. Like a silhouette going in the sunlight, since we don't have an actual giraffe to show you. And to start heading back to quarantine. Also, just something to show you while we do start marching back. Herbert's keeping us moving. There's a giant land snail shell. Try and get it in the sun for you. And this is recent. This has been broken open and eaten recently by some kind of giant land snail predator that's come through. The reason I say that is it's still got all of its colouring. So it's that brown, it hasn't been bleached white by the sun out here. So just a little portion of a land snail shell, maybe a bird, maybe something like a mongoose or one of the cats, but I think it's most likely a bird species. Jandre's got a spider web dangling from his camera. It's a pleasure. Let us continue onwards, because our dancing shadows, first of all, they indicate that time is getting on, and second of all, they also indicate that we've gone completely mad. At this point in our race to find Karula, Herbert is absolutely determined to figure out where she's gone. We have now scoured the block. She might possibly be on her way back towards the cubs. A little bit further back we found a drag mark that Herbert picked up upon, a drag mark from a kill that he thinks she made and hyenas stole from her sometime in the not too distant past. You got a fly in your nose by any chance, Jandre? Jandre, I'm talking to you guys, but at the same time I've got Jandre going. And I've just seen why, because there's a fly in his face. There you go.
Thank you.
You never know with Jandre. He might be trying to make us laugh. He might also fall backwards at the speed he's going. It's amazing that Jean-Ray hasn't actually injured himself more on bushwalk. This is the first time I've ever been out on bushwalk with Jean-Ray as the cameraman. Now, most of you know, Jean-Ray's now high-stepping in case because he doesn't know what's behind him. So he's high-stepping because he's walking backwards. Most of you know the cameramen have this enormous backpack with a giant antenna that sits upon their back, and then they've got the camera with them. So it's very, very heavy for a start. Second of all, they've got cables absolutely everywhere. And thirdly, they're busy focusing. This is all handheld camera work while he's walking backwards with a giant backpack and an antenna on his back. He's doing a marvellous job. Quite simply extraordinary. And he's very lucky we're on the road, or else he would have fallen down by now. Jean-Ray says now. We're going to head up to quarantine to find you the last few moments of our sunset safari over there. In the meantime, let's go across to James, find out what's happening.
One reason I'm laughing is because I'm afraid the audio gone. Okay. How about that, Dave? You can hear me now? You can hear me, good. Now, the reason I got off the car, I shan't tell you why I was laughing, it's rather disgusting. Well, not disgusting, it's just not pleasant. All around here, you can see that there is damage. Elephants have pushed over and created a great and mangled disasterville of knob thorns and gruvia bushes and the odd combretum bush and all sorts of others. And this might lead one to the conclusion, of course, that elephants are bad for the environment, because very clearly they have irrevocably changed this area. And if you look into this area in September, it'll look even worse, because there won't be any leaves left on any of those trees, and indeed the skyline, which is largely made up of knobthorn trees and one or two combretum trees or bush willows, that will change. Elephants will have pushed a lot of those things over. So the question is, are elephants damaging this environment? And my answer is, no, they're not. They're changing it, absolutely. It's completely normal for a drought year like this for them to change an environment. And I just think there's no better place on this reserve to demonstrate the effect that they're having. A year ago, all of these trees here that have fallen on the ground were standing upright. They're all dead now. That's okay. They've created habitats for all sorts of other animals, invertebrates largely, of course, bugs and scorpions, those incredible sightings that Herbert and Steph find when they're on foot, and Jamie too today, largely a result of elephants pushing things over. There's a footman. There's a footman moth, everyone. Well, let me capture it. Hang on a second. A footman, we found them, a whole lot of them yet the other day, and they were crawling about on a guarri bush because the guarris have started to bud. And these footmen are kind of winter moths. This one is going to have a nasty shock when I turn the engine on. Now, I don't think it's here. See if it went inside for some warmth. No, nothing there except Rusty's engine. Anyway, the beautiful coloured moth, little white, orange and black spots. Very nice and very unusual, of course, to find colour like that in the winter time. Here we go, David. Let's go and see what we can find up on the crest here. I sort of came this way hoping to get a good sunset shot, which I think we will get. I don't think it's going to be the most amazing sunset because it's a very clear winter sky, but there's quite a lot of dust on the western horizon, so we might get a good one. Let's go and look. It's not too far up the top of the hill here that we'll get a look. David's just putting on his skateboarding gloves. Cycling gloves, are they, David?
That's right.
Do you own a bicycle?
Yes.
You do? Where is it? Oh. I used to own a bicycle, David. I don't anymore. There is a Nyala cow. And she's golden in the setting sun. And the reason we're zooming in on her slowly, of course, is because David hasn't put his skateboarding gloves on, his cycling gloves on yet. Stunning. Just keeping the flies and the ticks off the body there with that very furry little tail. There we are. And in the background, a white-browed scrub robin. Might even be a lark, you know. I think it could be a Sabota lark that's calling there. Right, I don't want to stop here for too long. I want to go up onto the top of the crest here and see if we can get a view of the setting sun. I know we've done it 100 times, but it's just so lovely. I have to work out how many drives I've taken. I've been here just over a year now. What do we say? About 3/4 of the time on, a quarter of the time off. It'd be fascinating to know how when you get to milestones like 100 and 200 and 300. And as Louise says, I'm always welcome to go to the archives and check. Louise, I'm not that fascinated by it. But thank you. Thank you for the offer. If you're really kind, you'd do it for me, of course. Louise says she's got better things to do with her life. I think that's very unfair, Louise. Perhaps Jerry will do it for me. There's no ways Jerry will do it for me. It's just slightly early for the sunset at this stage, so we'll drive along here for a little while and see what we can find. In the meantime, let us go across to Brent Leo Smith and his fine set of screwdrivers and see what he's managed to find with them.
Well, screwdrivers are not very useful when looking for animals, and as you can see, the screwdrivers have produced nothing. But we are on our way towards Sydney's waterhole. I just want to have a quick look in that area. So I think the Nkuhumas might come back from the north, from the west, and also Tingana does like to patrol this area, and Mvula was not too far away from here yesterday morning. So we're going to keep going, and I'm hoping to see something glorious in this late afternoon light. Brian is warming up. He's got his massive blanket. You could probably fit 4 people inside Brian's blanket, or just Brian. He looks quite warm. I'm a little jealous, and we're going to stop now up on the top here and have a quick look at the vast expanse that is the Lowveld area of South Africa. Now, it's called the Lowveld because it's not very high. So on average, you're probably looking between 400 and 500 meters above sea level, and that is quite low without being too low. And it's nestled between 2 mountain ranges, the Lubombo Mountains in the east and the Drakensberg Mountains in the west. Now, in a lot of the Lubombo Mountains, they look a bit more like foothills than mountains, but the Drakensberg is a very impressive and one of the longest mountain ranges in Africa. And how's that, Brian? A little bit further. Let's get past the bush with that. And we'll see, it's a great expanse. So even though the country is quite undulating, so lots of little hills and valleys and dips, if you look at it from a point like this, it is relatively flat. So there we go. Let me look off into the distance. There we go, you can see the Drakensberg just to the left of the sun. Oh, and the only 2 clouds I've seen all day. Now, you can see below the Drakensberg, you can see there's different undulations in that, although it is still relatively very flat. And it keeps on like that for the majority of the Lowveld. And isn't that spectacular? Now, I've just got a message from Jamie, and she said she's got very fresh tracks of Karula that could be heading towards the Djuma dam camp. So guys, keep a lookout, and I'm going to start making my way there. So very, very fresh tracks, Jamie, and we're going to go back down there to have a look. We were quite close on Mvubu. We did check the Mvubu Road hyena den. Alas, no hyena souls were present. Wouldn't it be nice to see the Queen in this golden light? It's nice to see the Queen in any light, to be honest. For those who are wondering who the Queen is, it is Queen Karula, the dominant female leopard of Djuma. And we saw her two latest offspring, Shongile and Hosanna, this beginning of the sunset safari. So she leaves her cubs in a nice safe spot like that while she goes out to try hunt. And catch them a meal. So hopefully she'll be successful. I've changed my mind about which route I want to take. I'm going to stick on this. Be finding out what they've done is they've kept people away. So the harem are here. Fingers crossed. Oh! Sun is dipped. The temperature has some good camouflage. Look at that. See how it breaks up their outlines. Oh. Towards the trees, getting that light at the moment. And get my blankie out for my leg. And of course we're about to head east now, down towards Vuyatela. So we're going to be going away from the last
Resting place we can't see, and as you saw yesterday,
back, so let's go catch up. Catch up with them before they head home.
Ms. Def, perhaps we should do our farewell to you. Thank you to Gendre. Out here. We don't want to encounter anything that might be heading to us. It's a pleasure. We'll catch up with you tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari. For now, farewell, and we will see you then. Enjoy the rest of Kiss things out here, just in terms of physical strength and senses, and we definitely can't see at night. That's time.
Days. So the sun dips below in there. Let's just have a listen.
There's no
Be quite nice.
Keep an eye on the Djuma dam cam. She might pop out there. Just want to check all these elephants.
Sorry about this, everybody. Over. Be back with you as soon as we can. It's a bushbuck ridge over. There we go. But it's certainly not cold by any stretch of the. Probably not so much with infrared because the colour. Only and Louise. So in final. Maybe I could just. Will know.